My Life in Royal Hill High School synopsis. Jeremy, a very cute and rich guy, came down to Nigeria to finish his education and stay for some years before going back to the States, where his parents resided. He really hated the fact that he would be staying in Nigeria, as he saw the country as a dumb place where ugly and clumsy people were living. He began schooling at Royal Hill High School. He stayed quiet and acted coldly towards anyone he came across, especially the ladies who wanted to come closer to him because of his handsomeness. Many beautiful ladies drooled around him, wanting to get his attention, but all they got was an annoying neglect. But later on, a special girl named Anne entered the school through a scholarship. She was hated by everyone in the class due to the fact that she was from a poor family. They thought she was not worthy to be in the same school with them. But to the surprise, dismay, and shock of everyone, Jeremy found himself falling in love with her and was ready to do anything to win her heart. When their love life was about to blossom, an event which tended to destroy their relationship occurred. For the both of them to be together, something hard must be done. Would they stand by their love, or allow the wind to blow it away? A story of love, betrayal, hatred, and secrets. You can't afford to miss this story. Hit the like button to show your readiness to flow. Episode 1. Jeremy's POV. The alarm on my phone blared loudly, jerking me out of my nice sleep. The sound was so loud and annoying that I found myself flinging the phone to God knows where. I tried going back to sleep, but sleep could not come back again. It was Monday, but I wasn't ready to start preparing for any fucking school right now. I just wondered why my father brought me down to this dumb country. Why would it even be this country? Why Nigeria? I couldn't believe I would be living here because of some fucking politics my father entered into. I could never believe it was all happening. How would I live and school with the people of this country? Those black and stinking humans living here? Boo! I hissed and stood up from the bed. I sat at the edge of the bed. Today was Monday, which was the day I would continue my education in one of the best schools in this country, as they said. I looked at the clock hanging on the wall. It was 7:10 a.m. That meant I had 20 more minutes before the assembly would begin. I hissed loudly, then lay back on my bed. I would be going late today. After all, this was my first time, and I would not like going early to avoid the staring eyes of those black and ugly girls. My name is Jeremy Ben. I was 17 years old, the only son of my parents. My father was a politician and a businessman who was based mainly in the States. He was a citizen of both Nigeria and America due to the fact that his mother was Nigerian while his father was from America. That was the same as me. My father got married to my mother, who was an American. I had lived almost all my life in the States, as I only came down to Nigeria once in a while. But now, I would be staying here till further notice. I had tried all I could do to change my father's intention of bringing me to this country, but all to no avail. I lay down on the bed until the time clocked 8:05 a.m. Then I stood up and headed to the bathroom to clean up. I was living all alone with a bunch of maids and house helps who did all the work in the gigantic and beautiful building I was living in. My account had millions of naira stuck in it. I walked into the dining room after taking my bath. My food was already served. After eating, I went to my room and wore the school uniform, which was a white long-sleeved shirt and blue trousers for seniors. I stared at the mirror, admiring the fitness of the clothes. I brushed my hair, then took my bag and headed out of the room. As I made to climb downstairs, I remembered my golden wristwatch, which was given to me by my one and only loved one, Sophia. She had been my friend right from childhood. We grew up together, loving and caring for each other. I loved her so much that I shed many tears on the night before my departure. That night was really a day to remember, a day which I marked as a memorable day in my life. We clung around each other as if we were a newly married couple. I did all I could do to make her happy, as that would be the last day she would be seeing me. because I knew that when next we met, she might have moved on with another guy. Her face was one thing that would never leave my memory. Her stature, everything about her, was just so nice. I didn't think I would ever fall in love with any other lady in this country, especially with the fact that her image was still deeply fixed in my memory. I rushed back to my room and wore the wristwatch, which I had carefully placed in a special box with her name boldly written on it. Sophia. I checked the time. It was now 8:20 a.m. I rushed out and immediately dashed into my car, which had been waiting for me. "Good morning, sir," I greeted my driver, who was a middle-aged man, maybe around the age of 36. "Morning. How are you?" he asked as he ignited the car back to life. "Very fine," I muttered. I brought out my phone. As usual, I went into my gallery to stare at Sophia's pictures, which I had taken when we were together. Not long after, we reached the school. I was so astonished at its beauty, as I never expected it to be this nice. We drove straight to the principal's office for clarification. We alighted from the car and headed into the office. I really thanked God that there were not many people outside who would stare at me as if I was an alien. After a knock, we were ushered in. "Wow! Are you Jeremy, the son of Chief Desmond?" the principal asked with a wide smile. "Yes, I am," I answered bluntly, as the question seemed to anger me a little. "Please have your seat, okay?" he said, gesturing towards the seats. "There is no need for a long speech or preparation. All your registrations have already been done. Let me call someone who would take you to your class," he said. He quickly made a call. In not less than a minute, a lady walked into the office. She was wearing a pink, fashionable and sophisticated gown with a red belt tied around her thigh. "Good morning, sir," she greeted the principal with a curtsy. "You will take him to his classroom, which is SS2. His seat number is written on that paper," the principal said, handing a white paper to her. "Okay, sir," she answered as she collected the paper. She turned to the place where I was sitting. Her whole face was covered with a bright smile, which I couldn't ascertain the cause of. "Let's go," she muttered, as she saw I wasn't making any sign of standing up. I stood up and clung my backpack loosely on my shoulder. We both walked out of the office, leaving only my driver and the principal behind. As we walked through the hallway, I could see how nervous the lady leading me was. She could not stop stealing glances at me. As we walked side by side, she was really acting weird. The way she smiled occasionally really left me surprised and pissed off. "Why the stupid smile?" I sneered rudely. "Are you some kind of lunatic?" My words seemed to bring her back to reality, as I could see her once smiling face turn into an angry one. She increased her pace, giving me enough gap between us, which was exactly what I wanted. Though the lady was not that bad in appearance, she really had her shape in a nice figure eight. She had natural hair, long and packed in a ponytail style. Her lips were glossed with red lip gloss. After what seemed like an eternity to me, we finally got to my classroom. A lady whom I guessed to be the form teacher was standing in front of the class, giving some sort of advice to the pupils. Immediately we got into the classroom, there was a sudden uproar, followed by silent murmuring. All the girls in the class had their eyes fixed on me. Some were winking and making all sorts of gestures which I couldn't explain. I was shown the seat with my number. It was in between two ladies. The smiles that escaped from their lips were so wide that they looked like mentally disordered people. I sat on my locker quietly without looking at anyone, as I was sure their eyes were still on me. I stared blankly at the board. All the words the form teacher was saying were just like a foreign language to me. My mind was truly far away, thinking of no other person than my parents and my girlfriend, whom I would not see for a long time. I was still deep in thought when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I flinched back to reality and turned sharply to the person who touched me. It was the girl sitting at my right. "What?" I asked with an angry tone, sending fear into her. "I'm sorry, but you're being called," she stuttered, gesturing towards the front of the class. I turned and saw the form teacher staring at me with a confused expression. "What is it?" I asked rudely, staring at the teacher with an arched brow that clearly showed my irritation. I saw how the teacher's expression changed into a sad one. But that wasn't my concern. "You have to introduce yourself to the class," the teacher said after recovering from the shock of my rudeness. "I don't want to do any introduction." "I don't think it's necessary," I blurted out, bringing a novel from my bag. Just then, the class became noisy again. I looked up and found out that the teacher was gone. I let out a deep sigh before bringing out my phone. I inserted my earpiece and clicked on my music. I scrolled down to Westlife, then clicked on Soledad, which was my favourite. I was still engrossed in the novel I was reading when I felt another touch on my skin. I looked up, only to find 3 girls standing in front of my locker. I removed one of the earpieces so I could hear them well. "Hello, cutie," the girl in the middle greeted with a smile. I stared at her for some seconds before turning back to the novel I was holding. "Aren't you the one she's talking to?" the girl at her right-hand side asked, placing one of her hands on her waist. "Please, I think I need some privacy here. And moreover, I don't feel comfortable with the scent emitting from your body," I retorted, leaving them completely shocked. To be continued. Please check out for the next episode. What do you have to tell Jeremy? Comment below.